As the economic fallout of the COVID-19 pandemic deepens and further exacerbates vulnerabilities, the global community should anticipate that millions more may fall into modern slavery. The reasons for this include 1. Loss of income. With factory shutdowns, order cancellations, workforce reductions and sudden changes to supply chain structures, many workers have lost their jobs or been furloughed. This situation creates desperation that can expose them to modern slavery. 2. Quarantine restrictions. Workers may be unable to come to work because they need to be quarantined or need to care for a loved one. This results in an absence of wages and an increase in vulnerability. 3. Increased debt. As workers are forced to stay at home, the possibility that they find themselves in excessive debt significantly increases. In taking on debts that they cannot repay, they are open to exploitation. 4. Ultimatums. Some workers have been posed an ultimatum to either stay working at their own risk of contracting the virus or leave and lose their job. 5. Excessive involuntary overtime. Some factories, like those producing personal protective equipment, are facing huge spikes in demand. When other manufacturing operations reopen, there may also be pressure on workers to intensify production rates to cover for months of inactivity. This can result in unreasonable requests for workers to work overtime. This overtime can be exploitative if it is involuntary and not compensated. 6. Freedom of movement. Some employers may take advantage of government-imposed limitations to keep workers on site to work more hours. As the pandemic continues, more people are vulnerable to modern slavery. Companies can help protect them by doing the following 10 activities. 1. Make efforts to understand the risk of modern slavery within the business as the COVID-19 crisis continues. 2. Put in place short-term, medium-term, and long-term mitigation plans to address the various stages of the crisis and recovery. 3. Maintain ongoing communication with suppliers to collect information and share updates on internal decisions. 4. Explore ways in which workers who have been laid off or furloughed can be supported. This might include offering some subsidy wages or assurances of rehiring when possible. 5. Encourage suppliers to avoid issuing ultimatums to force workers to accept longer hours. 6. Encourage suppliers to only restrict migrant workers' freedom of movement where necessary for the purpose of preventing the spread of the virus, in line with the local law and guidelines. 7. Encourage suppliers to monitor working hours to ensure that workers do not face excessive overtime. 8. Encourage suppliers to offer workers grievance reporting mechanisms such as hotlines and mobile apps. 9. Encourage suppliers to provide training on the risks of modern slavery practices among workers in relevant languages. And 10. Collaborate with other organizations, including other brands, suppliers, and civil society organizations, to share best practice approaches to protect vulnerable workers. Companies have a duty of care to the vulnerable people in their supply chains. By taking these steps, workers and suppliers will be protected during the pandemic and beyond.